All right.
All
I think
right.
we are live. Thank you, Jeff, for joining me. Hello, everyone. My name is Levi, and today I have the honor to have Jeff with us today. Uh, a background about Jeff: feeling unfulfilled with his status quo, Jeff pivoted from his career as a pharmacist. By the way, you're the second pharmacist I'm interviewing in this channel, and
Oh my
decided to
gosh.
pursue financial freedom through the real estate. Now, as an owner of both short-term rentals and the long-term rentals, producing more than $10,000 per month in rent, he creates content about real estate investing, personal finance, and self-development, as well as videos on Instagram and YouTube to help people reach financial freedom and live better life. Jeff, welcome to the Facebook live stream.
Levi, thanks for having me, brother. I'm excited to be
Absolutely.
here.
My
Yeah.
pleasure. So tell me about yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well, you already did a really great intro, to be honest. I'm not going to stick too much on that story because honestly, the goal here is hopefully to provide value on for the people watching. So I did kind of want to talk about like the whole system and how anyone I honestly think can kind of get started. But just again, quick background. Yeah, pharmacist, graduated in 2017 from school in Colorado. Eventually, I moved to the Carolinas, and that's actually where I started my real estate investing journey around 2018. Bought these two homes. I was originally planning on. Sorry if it's a little loud too, but on the background, it was nice and smooth the other day. So
No
sorry,
problem.
everyone. But yeah, I bought my first two rentals back in 2018 after working like 60 to 70 hours and being like a salaried pharmacist. And I was just honestly a little bit tired, and I figured, hey, people on bigger pockets are doing this. I'm seeing a lot of people actually retired through real estate, and my parents are actually real estate investors prior to that for like 10 to 15 years. So I kind of wanted to learn from them in addition to like reading the books and like hearing podcasts. Like, hey, these people are making it work. What I quickly realized though is like after buying those long-term rentals in South Carolina, I was like, all right, well this really does work because I just bought these homes for around like 135, and I was cash flowing about 100 to like $200 every single month. The only problem was I'll probably have to buy like 500 to make it to like get to where I want to be. Not 500, but like 50 or so. I was
Right.
like, okay, well, it's cool. It's a really great wealth building plan because we obviously know if you do the research, people always say, yeah, real estate like appreciates by 4% every single year on an average annual basis. So I knew in the long term like it was going to be great. And plus, we got like the principal pay down, so like your mortgage, it's partly principal and interest, and then uh, rent go up over time. So for me at that time, I was just thinking, oh, this is a long term play. But what I quickly figured out was like, yeah, well, I am kind of tired. I do want to make a little bit more money. How do I buy more real estate without spending like another $50,000 that took me a whole year to save up through my pharmacist income? And what I did was actually start looking for more affordable deals, and ended up being like these $20,000 to $30,000 fixer uppers. And I heard about the bird method from Brandon from Bigger Pockets at this time, and I was like, let's try it. So I ended up buying my first bird deal back in like 2018 or 2019. Also, I think it was 2019 for sure. And I bought it for like 32,000 in South Carolina. Also, but in about 20, I know it's kind of a stupid number, but I don't see too many of those anymore, unfortunately. But
Right.
I'll pick those up if I ever see one of those. But yeah, we bought one of these in the Spartanburg area, put in about 20, and then afterwards, a couple of years later, I ended up refinancing it through a portfolio loan and taking out that money and buying more homes. In that same neighborhood, it wasn't like the greatest neighborhood; it was more like C class. But I ended up buying two more homes in the same exact area, like literally one house next to each other, and it did the same exact thing. Um, Long story short, those worked out really well. We made easily like six figures on all those properties. But at that time, I was also planning to move to San Diego and to kind of live over here and also buy first Airbnb in Joshua Tree. So this is back in 2021, and I was just kind of like hearing through the grapevine like all these different YouTubers and Instagrammers and like just hearing on social media like, hey, we're making this much on Airbnb, and I was like, wow, well, I'm already doing real estate. If I already believe in like the underlying asset, why not try this stronger rental strategy? So versus me going and putting in like another 25 to $30,000 into owning another home, I decided to buy furniture and put into one of these Airbnbs in Joshua Tree. So me and my partner got together like started up our first short-term rental in Joshua Tree. Turned out super well. I think we ended up making like $7,000 to like $12,000 every single month for quite a while.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, wow. Well, if I'm investing another $30,000 into another property, my return is only like $100 net per month. Like I understand like the wealth building aspect, but it's also
Yep.
like a little bit of like cash flow is like really important for me. Net, we probably kept maybe like 5,000 starting off like from that amount, which is still for me really happy. Like I don't have to buy 50 properties again to make the same amount. I can just buy like 3 or 4 of these, and it would actually replace my income. Lo and behold, like you move forward, like obviously that deal is not like cash flowing as strong as it used to. So that's one thing that I kind of like figured, hey, like when you're near a lot of people who are very successful, like in California, they have all this equity tied up. Eventually, like word gets around, and because Joshua Tree is like such an easy market to pivot to, you can drive there if you really wanted to from LA, San Diego, all these people who have like multi-millions of dollars to like pivot and make a really nice Airbnb. You can kind of like destroy your plan. Like it gets saturated relatively. And I think that's what like the Big Bear and Joshua Tree people, uh, for the people who are like there and not like actively like reinvesting their profits back into their deal is learning, is you really got to make sure you're top tier. So to stay top tier, what I decided to do is kind of look out of state. I was like, well, um, I'm gonna take some of the equity that I made from my home and like the money that I make from my job and actually put it into other national parks and see which ones are more affordable. And that's where I kind of discovered um, the New River Gorge National Park with one of my friends who's actually a doctor and he's also a rock climber. Um, I don't know if he's gonna. I'm not gonna mention his name, but really good friend.
Okay.
He actually bought the Airbnb in the New River Gorge area before I did, and it worked out really well for him. He's like, Jeff, you should really try it out. So I was like, well, I already know that the business aspect works. Now it's just like whether can I pull it off, like being 2,000 miles away. So again, drew up another partnership, bought a couple homes there, and we basically repeat the same exact thing in Joshua Tree, except this time we try to do some design work and the setups on our own versus like in Joshua Tree, I actually hired a designer for like $5,000 and did a great job. So this time I'm kind of like on the fence of like maybe I should look into like setting up a design business and a co-hosting business, and that's kind of how like that was born. But yeah, we did 2 properties over there, and we're like, wow, these properties are doing pretty much just how Joshua Tree did back in like 2021. And what I learned is like everything is pretty much doable. Like we remodeled restrooms, remodeled the whole homes, turned into really like a nice black and white house. And these properties we bought for around 185 and $235,000, 10% down, and it goes up to 25% down sometimes also. But even at that price point, like versus spending like $800,000 in my home in San Diego, which I did do, it's much more expensive, and also the rules are just not as nice as they were. Like if you ever want a permit down in like West Virginia stuff, you can pretty much get in like a day if you really want it.
Wow.
So yeah, so that those numbers, like the fact that I can actually bring my Joshua Tree's property to West Virginia was a huge plus, and that it worked out. And after that, I kind of just went all in. Like we started buying other Airbnbs, even like exploring arbitrage a little bit in like Spartanburg. We're working on a project in Florida at the moment, and we got another one in West Virginia also near the New River Gorge National Park, and we're trying to get another one, and hopefully eventually do some really cool stuff I'll talk about a little later.
Sure. Absolutely. Oh my
Yeah.
God, so much to unpack here. Thank you. Wow, you went from South Carolina to California to West Virginia to Florida. So it looks like you all over the place, but you are very, very focused on what you want to accomplish. So let's step back a little bit and can you talk about the beginning? I know you were working 9 to 5, you made some money, you read books, you listened to podcasts, but how did you decide to pull the trigger? What pushed you to make the jump?
Honestly, it's just kind of like how you feel. To be honest, like I always tell them, like if your situation is fine right now, there's honestly really no need to change it unless like your investment plan is bad. So like if you have no investment plan, that's probably the worst plan. But we're all gonna move on from this world one day. Obviously, everyone knows that. So when you're a little bit older and it's harder to work, um, I think you should actually work a little bit harder when you're young to kind of set yourself for a way to support your life when you're older. So for me, I was like, man, I don't know if I can work 60 hours when I'm 45 or 50 years old anymore, to be honest. Like, I probably want to spend more time with my family, my friends. I want to do the vacations that, like I always dreamed that we were doing when we were younger. I want to have my own family. I want to spend time with my own kids and when I have kids. I don't have kids right now. So for me, that was kind of like the push, and like just having that thought in the back of my mind every time I went to work. Like there was always something constantly nagging me, like, oh, I need to get up and move, get up and move, and like doing the exact same thing wasn't going to work. And for me, I did explore like stocks and index funds, crypto. I flipped couches, I flipped bikes, did a little bit of everything, and isn't it, you learn quite quickly like what works really well and like what's kind of
Understood.
actually worth the squeeze. Um, so for
Okay.
me, yeah, that's it, I
Yeah,
guess.
got it. So you have something to push forward. We have so many comments coming in the chat, and we're going to address
Okay.
them in one quick second. Can you talk about the BRRRR method, if somebody doesn't know, in 2 sentences, please? The BRRRR
Yeah,
method.
sure. So Burr method is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat.
Repeat.
So basically, yeah. So it's basically a strategy to uh, help you grow faster without having to keep on working. So the only biggest caveat is like it's helpful when you have a W-2 job, and it's a little bit harder when you don't. So what you'll end up transitioning to is like using like special loans or learning how to do private money. But it's a really great way to get started and kind of reallocate your money, because there's two different metrics that I generally look at when I do real estate investing, which is return on investment. So how much money I put in and how much I'm actually making every single month. So it's your net income divided by the amount invested. So your closing costs, like your down
Mhm.
payment, and all that stuff. And then for me, since I encourage short-term rentals, it's also going to include renovations and furniture too. And for me, I'm targeting like 30% returns and above, which I actually do way higher normally. But I do a method called Burr, and then like you, instead of like doing regular rents, you do short-term rentals. So I think they are here on Bigger Pockets, like Rob built said it's like called a Burr Stir. So I'm sticking with that.
Got got it. Okay. I have my questions here, but I see a question coming up in the chat, and let's go with the first one. There was a comment saying income from one Airbnb equals to 10 long rentals. I think I can agree with that. Yeah, sure. Question: how much time do you invest in getting new guests, and how much is in the marketing?
In new guests. Okay, so there's actually a whole system to this, and I actually suggest most people manage their own homes because I pretty much use software. Like again, I'm in San Diego, and we're still getting bookings. Pretty much in again, I didn't even talk about we're in Michigan too. So we're in Michigan, West Virginia, Florida, and yeah, you can make it happen with software. So you'll use something like called Guesty or Hospitable, and these are like these platforms that connect to like your locks. It makes automated messages. It connects to your cleaners, uh, and then you can like use like Slack to connect to all of your other workers over there. But once it's up and running, like you have your property manager running, it's quite automated. You can even have VAs. Like I use VAs from the Philippines, and I think it's like $1,000 per month. But again, if you're making 5,000, you actually have a little bit more margin to hire out and get your time back, which is why I kind of like this strategy so much. Um, yeah, a lot of it is quite automated, and we don't really spend too much time. So Airbnb does the marketing for us. VRBO does a lot of the marketing for us, and I did build a website on my own webpage for direct bookings. And we use also something called StayFi, which is like a software that hooks into your modem, and it
To collect
actually
emails.
to collect emails. Perfect, yeah. And we use those emails to retarget to our guests, so we can basically not have to worry about like uh, having guests. And of course, it's going to take a little bit of time to build it out, but I do foresee that that is actually where I kind of want to head towards, because it's sometimes not the best idea to have all your eggs in one basket. Like just how I don't tell everyone, like, just work,
Yeah.
focus on your job. Same for like you don't want Airbnb to be your only boss.
Yeah, this is the thing right now. I mean, after, especially, I think I already talked about that, but after what happened during the pandemic, right? People are now focusing more to create their own website, direct booking, to keep the relationship with the clients or guests rather than middlemen like Airbnb that, they refunded everybody and they did not even ask the hosts. So I think it's amazing that you're doing. Next question we have. What rural markets are good for short-term rental and mid-term rental hybrid? What markets? What rural markets?
I'd say this is not really rural, but I'm actually over here right now, which is Spartanburg County. Just keep in mind that Spartanburg City doesn't allow Airbnb, so you usually want to go a little bit outside and work with the county. They are trying to pass within the government saying that the cities cannot regulate short-term rentals, but that's been on the plate for 2 years and nothing's been done yet. So keep that in mind. Before you ever go into any rural market, just call and ask first. But I like the Spartanburg County mainly because these duplex will buy for 235, 215, and we'll convert each side into short-term rentals, and that's technically originally the plan. But what ends up happening is we have these mid-term rental inquiries, and we're just booked out for 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Yeah, so it's even sad. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about all the hurricanes. When that happened, it was even worse because we had all these inquiries and we just couldn't satisfy them. So I was like, man, I need to go back there, hopefully try and build some homes for these people too, because people need a place to live, and then they just lost their houses towards Asheville. Even my house got damaged pretty bad, but yeah, I really like the Spartanburg County market, the Bowling Springs area, and then short-term rentals specifically. I like the national parks a lot. New River Gorge. Yeah.
To expand on the other question as well, what are the top markets in West Virginia or anywhere where you can invest from 50,000 to 200,000 property and does well as short-term rental?
Yeah. So the ones that I talked about in West Virginia, can I show you my screen?
You can share your screen. Sure, you can share your screen.
I'm gonna show off my BNB.
Please, BNB. If I can see it, I'll let you know.
Let's see. No, I don't think there's a way to share. So
you should be able to share it. I mean, there's a button.
Oh, here we go.
There. Yes.
Share screen.
Make sure you share the right screen.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
I'm joking. Here we go. Something comes along.
You've seen all those funny videos.
Yes. Now I can see what you're sharing. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me make sure I'm on the right one.
Yes, I can see your Airbnb now. Yeah.
Okay. Let me. Is it moving?
Not yet, but I do see Airbnb only.
That's weird. Okay, let me check one more time. 1 second.
Sure.
So it's multiple. I have too many Airbnb tabs open.
No worries.
It's that one. Okay. Shoot. Let me try this one more time. Sorry.
Sure.
Share screen. I'm just going to share my entire screen.
Sure.
I'm not looking at anything inappropriate.
Cool. Now I can see your Google. Yeah. Now it's moving.
Why I was having trouble seeing, so.
No problem.
Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, I'll see photos right now.
So this is one of my listings. This is the one of the places that was on a midterm rental. But yeah, it's booked out, I think, until November. And this was originally, again, we were just planning for it to be on Airbnb. This one was super affordable. It was our first arbitrage deal, so I don't actually own this one. But we rented for $1,000, and it makes 2,500 to 4,500 a month. And after expenses, maybe we keep 2,000 to 3,000, depending on how good we get and how lucky we get. But imagine this is a duplex. You have two sides. 2,000, 3,000 a month isn't that bad for a $235,000 duplex. So then here's my one in West Virginia. So this is one we bought for $170. Did a little bit of work to it.
Wow. I love it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. So this one was actually through seller financing. So we put around $20,000 down, and then renovations, I think what I remember was around 30. And then furniture was also 25 or something like that. Not 100% sure on the numbers. I'd have to bring up my spreadsheet. But yeah, so these are our photographs. I always recommend people do professional photographs. And then I generally tell people to have a designer come in and design the place. These places, again, they usually book a lot. Everyone's always worried about how do I know it'll get booked? Airbnb is a little bit different where like you got to accept that there are some days that are going to be unbooked. So we shoot usually from around like 70% occupancy, but we book quite well. So if you take a November night, I think it's like 286 a night. It's starting to go into our slow season. So what I actually tell people to look at more versus like monthly bookings is the average annual income. This one has brought in around 40,000 since like June 15th is when I started. That's why there's only 11 reviews still. So I think our first review is sometime in June. That's where high season is peaking. But I really like this market. You could buy homes again from like 150 to 250. But what I always tell people to do if you only have $50,000 is you need to get like a secondary vacation home loan.
You can
and
stop
then you
sharing
can
now.
go ahead. Yeah, I'm stop sharing. Yeah. So a secondary vacation home loan. So what that allows you to do is do 10% down, and you just have to live in a place for like 14 days most of the times for like the bank's rules. Obviously, ask your own lender, but using 10% down for a home like that, again, let's say it's 200,000, 20,000 down. Hopefully, it's just like paying carpet, like renovations. So it ends up being maybe like another 10,000. If you can figure out designers, again, I usually tell people to hire a professional designer unless you are a professional designer, because to spend like $5,000 on someone to make your place like really good is going to be worth it. Like especially if it increases the amount you can book by like 3,000 a month, it's going to be a really great investment of like $5,000. And they do all the procurement, so they'll order stuff for you and actually make sure it's shipped to the house. What I will say is like it's pretty easy to assemble furniture. And that's probably my favorite thing to do. Like it gets kind of expensive if you have someone go and assemble your own furniture for you. It could easily cost up to like $8,000 to $12,000. And again, it has instruction manuals, like most people can generally figure out. But if you don't, you can technically hire it out too. So I usually hire out like people for around $25 an hour. So everyone's worried about
Got it.
how to do that.
Another question. I mean, I love your properties. Amazing photos. Another comment that came, question that came in: how do you find creative deals in rural markets?
I see.
Do you have
So
boots on the ground? Do you work with any like real estate agent that are specifically catered towards the investors?
yes. So honestly, it's just by asking over and over. And let me see if I can copy and paste like how I would mention something like that.
Yeah. If not, you can literally do it in a Facebook group. You can just paste it there if you would like, but try it here.
Yeah, I'll just read out like my script to you. So I'll contact agents all the time. So I'll use like the Zillow Finder tool. So if you're going to new market and you don't know who to work with, go to Zillow, go to Agent Finder, like find an agent, type in whatever market you want to go to. So say like you want to go to Oak Hill, West Virginia. So you'll type that in, and then a bunch of like agents will pop up, and you can pick the ones that have the most closings or 5-star reviews. And also referrals are super good. And then you could just start by asking like questions like, hey, I'm looking at this house specifically. Do you know if the sellers are entertaining seller financing? And then they'll either tell you no. And then if you say no, no worries. Okay, do you know any other like sellers that are willing to do seller financing? Here are my terms. I can pay asking price if they're a little bit flexible. I'd love to chat more, see if I can help them solve a selling problem. It works better with homes that have been sitting on the market longer. Like if you go to a home that's been sitting on the market for like 2 days and has like 50 saves, good luck. I would just pass. But if you go onto homes that look like digital, you use like Rabu to estimate their income, you can just go ahead and kind of explore that with them. And then if they say no, it's like, well, just letting you know, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a house that costs $200,000. I'm looking for anyone willing to sell or finance, and I'd love to chat with them on the phone. So like I did this text message to someone earlier. They're asking, what are you looking for? I said, my plan is actually turn to an Airbnb, and I want to investigate with you a bit more on the phone. Would it be okay for me to like he was asking, let me double check. He was asking, what did you want to do? And I said, whether it would be okay for me to set up this home as an Airbnb. I want to be respectful to the neighbors. I'm new to Kentucky. I've set up tons of rural remote Airbnbs, and I'm a big rock climber. That's how I found the area. I want to connect with owners and sellers to be willing to seller finance a home with us before we went conventional, as we've had more difficult time with banks and lending. Logan mentioned you might know someone willing to seller finance some deals for us if we paid asking price and we're flexible with terms. So that's kind of like how a script goes, and I just shoot that out to as many people as I can. And then if you can craft like a really good deal, like we've gotten 0% interest deals. We've gotten homes where they're like, again, that home, it was 170, I wanted to put 20,000 down. Those are quite fun for me. And it's just like a lot less headache working with banks sometimes.
So are you utilizing DSCR loans in addition to seller finance?
I use pretty much like all loans. Like what I usually tell people when they're starting off, like the students that I work with, is start with like 10% vacations, because a lot of them still have their W-2. If they're not like qualified and say they're like more experienced real estate investor and they just want to try like real estate investing, sometimes they'll just do DSCR loans, and some of them will just like buy cash and they just do like a cash out refi, which is also helpful too. So like if we're buying a value add play, we buy like we bought a home for 100,000, we put in like 100,000. We're gonna try and get it appraised for 300 and see what happens. I wish I could tell you those numbers for sure, but it's still in the process right now. So I'll let you know if that's good or bad news.
So how do you? Okay, so you bought it. Then how do you bring the people to work on your unit? How do you source for handyman, for electrician, plumbers, and other ones?
Referral, same thing. So it's like
Referrals.
just don't let the question end like at like no. So it's like, oh, instead of like saying, hey, I need to get like can you help me with like finding a home? And they're just like, I'm kind of busy right now. And usually, like, if that's an answer, you can always just be like, well, instead, well, who do you know who can help me? Is there anyone that you might know that is willing to work on this? And that kind of usually gets people's brains thinking versus like a yes or no blank answer. Yeah.
Got it.
And it's honestly simple as that. And then you can Google too if you don't like asking for referrals, and then just exploring like ones with high reviews. So I do that all the time.
And then how soon do you advertise on Airbnb that the unit is available? Do you wait until you finish everything, design, I don't know, furnishing, and then you put it?
Yeah, so we have a timeline on that too. So usually it's closing a month, depending on like what terms we do, but like we've done as like soon as 14 days. And if the house is relatively turnkey, like, because we do buy some homes that are turnkey, like I have some students that where they're like we literally eyeball for homes that need no repairs and stuff, because it's built all of that construction costs into the loan, and it actually still works out. So if we're buying, instead of a $200,000 home, we buy a $300,000 home, but it's completely turnkey. We can just pretty much order stuff and get to work, and the Airbnb will be ready within a month probably. But yeah, you do want to finish all the stuff first. So if you add like, because you want the pictures, you can't like, we'll make the listing freehand, but we won't actually like advertise it yet. So it's like a combination of like, hey, we're gonna have the designers work like while it's in closing, like we've got our clear to close, and then once the clear to close happens, is it really loud now?
No, you're good. I mean, there's some music in the background, but we'll still hear you.
Okay, so okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so we'll get the clear to close from the lenders, and then we're like, hey, designers, let's start working. They'll get the handyman stuff. We'll get the measurements of the place, and then they'll start designing and ordering things to the house once it's closed. So you don't want stuff going there before it's closed. But once it's closed, you'll have your stuff there. We'll fly there. We'll hire the handyman. Or the person who is actually working on the house, or the owner, will go to the place to make sure that things get assembled. We'll have these mood boards from the designers. So they'll pre-design it. So it's called Spoke. It's like the application we use. Or if you work with like a professional designer, they'll have it for you, and you print that out and you put it in every single room. And then you unbox the packages, put them in the room where the mood boards are located at, and you just start assembling. And then usually we're done within about 7 days. So by the end of 7 days, we'll have our cleaners come in and interviewed. We'll have our photographers come in, and hopefully you can do those lifestyle pics. So if you saw me playing like games on cornhole, those are called lifestyle pics. Those actually sell a little bit better than the normal Airbnb photos. You want specifically a real estate photographer or Airbnb photographer too to take your pictures. And yeah, our whole thing is like, you want the place up and running fast. That way you're not having more holding costs, like paying a mortgage and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the faster you can get up and going, the more money you make.
Absolutely. You mentioned that using different tools to manage your units remotely. Do you have any property management on site that take care of, or you just have handyman and cleaning and that's it?
Handyman cleaner is usually enough, so you don't really need anyone on site, because it's not like a hotel. Unless you're doing a boutique hotel, then little bit different.
Mhm.
You'll actually save money if you have someone on site. But this is the way this works. So you have a Ring camera that points in the direction that the cars drive up. They'll actually track them when they come in. So it actually is like pretty wide angle. You can see how many guests come in there. That's not hooked up to the software or anything, but if you ever need to go back and like investigate like what happens to a property, if you need to file like an insurance claim through air cover or through your actual insurance, they'll walk into the house. The code is programmed to the last four of their phone number. They punch in their number. They go on in, and you can see who goes in and out. And there's also many devices that detect smoke and like noise, like so there's no parties. We also have that StayFi device that actually detect how people connect to the Wi-Fi. It's like
Mm.
if you have like special programming where you charge per head or something like if you have 10 people coming, you're like, hey, maybe it's extra $20 per person that comes in. The device collects their Wi-Fi. They'll remarket that later. Someone checks out, deletes the lock, and then someone leaves. Cleaner comes in, cleans the pace. They follow the turno checklist. The checklist will be like, hey, take a picture of this. This is time stamped. Sales clean. The supplies will be inventoried also. So like if you run out of inventory, you can connect them with your VA, and the VA will order them for the cleaners, or the cleaners actually has access to your Amazon account and can order it themselves. And then if like a handyman issue comes up, the cleaners can coordinate with the handyman, or if you train them to, or your VA can, or you can also, depending on how your system is set up. And that's it. You don't really need. You'll know when things break. You know when to file because there's quick turnover. It's not like long-term rentals where like you don't find out 12 months later that your house is
Mm.
pretty much destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, I see so many potential, so many things can go wrong. But what challenges have you faced, and how did you overcome them? You can give us an example if you don't mind.
What challenges have I faced?
I mean, the other
Sometimes,
one. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, sometimes cleaning doesn't happen. So like if the cleaners don't show up, it's very rare. Like maybe like 2 times it's ever happened over like thousands of bookings. But honestly, all it takes is usually just like an emergency cleaner or just like a quick refund. Um, but if but we usually put like margins to that. Like so, like if we lose a booking, it's totally fine because we're making 12,000 every single month sometimes. Um,
Hmm. What
there's
about
that.
the unit that right now got impacted by the storm?
The storm. That one, the tree fell on it.
Mm.
So we just block up a couple of days. Have our insurance come in and cut up the trees and then fix it, and then it's back to normal, and then it's back to rent. If you use insurance like proper insurance, they'll even cover like lost rents and stuff.
Hmm.
So it's kind of cool, yeah. But yeah, it's honestly just more communication, having the teams in place, and it feels just fine. And honestly, like I can't really think of the problems because I've kind of come like probably gotten none to them. So for me, it feels like it's like filling a prescription. So I can kind of do without thinking about it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have a system in place, process in place, and it works like a clock, right? How do you keep cash flow steady and increase rates?
So just look at your annual revenue, and if you want like a quick estimate, what you can kind of do is just oh, sorry, there was a spider on my neck. That was
Ooh.
weird. What you can kind of do is just use the annual revenue, to be honest. So the
Mm.
more you stay in a market, the more data you'll have. Um, so for me, luckily, like these New River Gorge National Park, like that area, I've been there for almost 2.5 years now. So I know like, oh, this is probably gonna make 67,000 at the worst. But my new ones are doing much better. Like we launched 3 pretty much at the same time, and they're on track to
Mhm.
make 100. So if you can just like take like 60% of that and like save that for all of your expenses, that's pretty much pretty solid. So you'll probably get like 40 to $50,000 per year from a home that makes around 100,000. At least
I
based
see.
off the system I do. It's a little bit different with like luxurious properties, and if they're larger. But on the properties I'm buying, which is like 3 to 5 bedroom, 2.5 bath, uh, that's about like the margins we're spending to upkeep the place, including like
Mm.
capex and repairs.
Understood.
Yeah.
Interesting. What advice would you give to someone aiming for 5,000 net on Airbnb?
5,000 on Airbnb. Honestly, just make your product good. So buy a good deal first of all. I mean, at the end of the day, like if you're unless you're doing arbitrage, and you can kind of bypass all that, which I don't really
Hmm.
teach. There's better teachers for arbitrage than I. Um, but I think buy the good deal first. So buy a home that's affordable. So if your mortgage is $1,000, your risk is so low. Like versus like my home in San Diego where I bought for 860,000, my mortgage is 5,300. It better be doing better than
Yeah, yeah.
that. So for me, like my mortgage like on those homes is like $1,000. It's a lot less scary for someone new to get started and that be the risk. And that's how I kind of started my South Carolina homes. Like again, those houses, they're only 135,000, the brand new builds, and my mortgage is $1,000. Um, so for me, I was like, I can just work my pharmacist job, worst
Okay.
case scenario, and I was already a really good saver. So like personal finance first, make sure you understand budgeting and stuff. And then once you get more savvy, understand like loans and leverage and how like the money system works overall, that's when you kind of like get a little bit more creative. But it's pretty much a learning process throughout the whole time, and that's like the purpose of like, being like your groups and stuff, and like having mentors like you do, and, like chatting with more
Oh,
experienced real estate investors. It's going to be super helpful for anyone starting off. And I think just being a community like yours is honestly going to protect people from losing money.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got connected with you. I forgot to mention, I attended one of your monthly meetups, right? And we got connected. You share your story, I share my story, and we just took off from there. So you mentioned you do teaching. Can you talk about that? What does it
Uh,
entail? What is it? Yeah.
yeah. So we're doing on waitlist right now because we're testing it out. But my past students, basically, uh, the ones who got like really at first, it started off like super casual, like it's just me and my friends. Like I was just helping them out, and pretty much like almost all of them got a home, which was like I was like, oh well, I could probably like see if this ends up being a business. But we do a one-on-one hand holding, um, and every time they
What
have
does it
questions,
what does it
we'll
include? Yeah, uh-huh. The
oh,
one-on-one.
okay. So if the one-on-one is basically 12 weeks. So and if you don't get a home within 12 weeks, usually we just keep on working with you until you find a home. But we're again aiming for those houses that you can afford. The requirement is though, because even though technically you can buy real estate with no money, like if you figure it out, like there's books like on this, like Wealth Without Cash, the book on low to no money down investing. For me, I just found it's I'm a little bit more beneficial to people who saved up at least 50,000. But it's 12 weeks. We handhold you. We have weekly consults. You get access to my videos about like how I set up my first few rentals. You have my checklist. So like if you're ever wondering like how to actually like go to a house and like assemble furniture and like what timelines you need to hit, it's like a literally like a worksheet that says day one, pack toothpaste, pack your laptop, print out mood boards, bring it with you. By day one, this needs to be done. Day two, this needs to be done. Day three, this needs to be done. Day seven, you got to have your photographer and you got to have your photos done and then come back. So it literally just explains to you. And I try to make it as easy as possible where you can just like literally hit a checkbox because that's how I did
Mm-hmm,
pharmacy
mm-hmm.
school. Like I did checklists to make sure I hit my timelines. So trying to do a little bit of the same thing like how I studied back in the days to real estate investing. Comes with that. And then if they want to like keep on working with us, we can kind of talk about that later. But that's kind of what that one-on-one offers.
Understood.
It does take a lot of time, but I've also had tons of people where like they just take my free content on Instagram and they roll with it, and now they have like 2 or 3 homes, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm happy to if someone gets value on my free stuff too. So that's great. So I have 3 other free cheat sheets you can just download the website too. So and yeah.
Understood. And then if somebody wants to get in contact with you to get more information, what is the best way to do that?
Probably Instagram, or you can always go to my website and like get on my email list. I'm pretty new to like the online space, like and using like responses, so bear with me. But Instagram is probably the best.
And what is
You can even
your
DM me.
handle? Yeah.
Oh,
What
it's
is your handle?
thankfully it's just my name at Jeff Chheuy.
Okay, Jeff Chheuy. Okay. And I
Yeah.
did put your name in the description. Obviously, people can find you that way. And what is your website, please?
Oh, my website is T as in Tango, E as in Echo, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, O as in Oscar, dot C as in Charlie, O as in Oscar, Tico.co.
And I'm just gonna put this right now in the comment section under this video so people can find you there. We are 40 minutes in. Is there anything else you would like to talk about, to mention?
Uh, you
Encouragements?
know,
I don't know. You tell me. What are your plans, I guess, for the next 3 years or 5 years?
for me, it's kind of a stupid goal, but I want to see if I can bring like our company to like 1,000 homes. I don't know if
Mm,
it's gonna happen, obviously, but I'm gonna try my best. and it's not going to happen alone. I think one of the biggest things that I learned in school was like, oh, they always taught you like, oh, be independent, make sure you can figure things out yourself. But switching to like real estate and like business in general, I learned is pretty much more. It's more of a team sport. So back in school,
Absolutely.
they told you not to cheat. You should be cheating in business. You should be asking and using your resources
Abs-
and asking questions. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice. And start later. Don't time the market. You know, like we know that real estate you can track it like a 4% average annual basis. So say you're scared of a recession right now, which tons of people are. It crashes 30%. You buy a home, like these affordable homes. The mortgage is $1,000 and it crashes 30%. So now one is worth 130 or something. That worst case scenario, you
Right.
hold it for 30 more years. You get your principal pay down. You get appreciation eventually, and you get the cash flow on top of it. So as long as you're buying cash flowing deals, you're quite protected.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
Um, So I guess last question, when you do your analysis on the Airbnb, do you take into consideration also that if you won't be able to do Airbnb, you'll do the long-term rental, or you always take into consideration your goal is to do Airbnb or short-term rentals?
It really depends. Like in the markets where it's a little bit busier, I'll like the midterm rental market. Like I'll take into consider like, hey, my midterm rentals will cover it. The short-term rental markets, if you specifically go into those, you need to make a lot of money. Like you need to underwrite for like, hey, it's gonna make you a lot of money. Because worst case scenario, it's usually not the best long-term rental. Like Joshua Tree, like it's not the best long-term rental area. Like my mortgage is 1,800, and my long-term rents maybe like make like 2,300. And for me, that's not worth it. I might as well just sell my home if I have $100,000 worth of equity, because now we're analyzing return on equity. Like I have $100,000 in there and it makes me $200 per month. That is a really bad return.
Hmm,
Yeah. So
understood.
when I'm
Understood.
going to if you go all in on a really good like short term rental market and you get your return your money fast, like say you invest 65,000, you want to try to get your money back within like 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years. Okay.
Yeah, that reduces
Jeff,
your risk.
can
Yeah.
you also mention your monthly meetup? So I think I missed this one, right? Was it on
Yeah, it's
Tuesday?
okay, man. It's
Sorry,
every
man.
second Tuesday in San Diego. No, it happens. You're
Yeah,
busy.
you need to
Um,
remind me of set up that I can remember. I will be there.
okay, I'm
Second
very bad
Tuesday.
at marketing. Like I always like do one day after, and so that's why like I have like Jenny and stuff help me a lot. But it's
Yes, yeah.
every second Tuesday of the month. It's on meetup.com too. It's called San Diego, SANDRIEGO. If you ever get confused, it's San Diego, but the R put in front of the D.
Mm, very
So
unique.
real estate investing. I don't know why. I thought it would be more obvious, but I guess it's not very
Yeah.
it's not very clever.
All right. I think I covered all the question that I had and learned a lot. Looking forward to continue building relationship with you, and you're always welcome to contribute to the community as well as to come back when you're gonna have two. You said 1,000. I said 2,000 doors. How about that?
Oh gosh, I don't think so, man.
You be careful
Even
what
if I
you're
get half,
wishing
I'll be
for.
happy. It's in
Thank you
it's in the
so
world
much.
now. Yeah. Take
I
care.
appreciate
Thanks,
your
everyone.
time. Enjoy your weekend. Bye. Bye, Jeff.